All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us here at the State Operations Center. I'm going to be very brief this morning so Director Stallings can give me an update on our mass vaccination sites that have gone live today. First, there have now been 1.75 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine administered here in Georgia. That accounts for 89% of our supply. For the doses the state of Georgia controls in terms of distribution and administration, we have put 9 out of 10 shots available in the arm of a vulnerable Georgian. That includes over 763,000 seniors, and as I've said at our previous press conferences, 85% of Georgia's deaths at the hands of COVID-19 have been among those 60 years of age and older. While vaccine demand continues to vastly outpace supply, we will continue to focus on how we can prevent 85% of future deaths, and that's by getting as many shots into the arms of seniors as we possibly can, as quickly as we can. The sites that we announced last week will serve as the first step in the state's strategic plan to distribute the vaccines which are provided by the federal government. As supply expands over the coming months, we will be able to increase capacity at these 4 initial sites, shift resources to other communities as needed, and stand up new locations to reach more Georgians. Given our significant progress in vaccinating the 1A plus population and the steady increase of our weekly allotment, we will be finalizing our expanded criteria in the coming days. Our goal is to protect those vulnerable to this virus and get Georgians back to normal as quickly as we can. My commitment is that we will continue to work around the clock to make that possible. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Stallings. He'll give you an update on what we have going on around the state and here at the SOC, and then we'll be glad to take any questions. Director.
Good morning, Governor. Thank you for being here with us today. As you can tell, the room's got a lot of folks. We are socially distancing, so that's why they're not here in the center location like we normally are. But we have our emergency support functions active. We're handling this, as the Governor described last week, like any incident command. We're utilizing all our support functions, whether it be our law enforcement, our DOT, our finance, our transportation element, any of the assets that we would normally use for any incident. You can find them in here today. So we're up and running. We're happy. We've got shots going in arms at all 4 sites. Even though the rain showed up today, it didn't stop us. So we're excited. We joked this morning and said it wouldn't be a GEMA day if there wasn't some rain involved. So we're excited to have the opportunity to fulfill the mission that the Governor tasked us with. At each site, we've got also these same support functions there. So we're working through any need. One of the critical things is communication. The way we've set our sites up is they're essentially cookie cutter. Other than the building itself and maybe the location, the style of setup and the personnel being used is the same. So something that we found was key is if it's a problem at one site, it might pop up at the other sites as well. So our teams are out there on the ground identifying anything that we might encounter. A long time ago I was told practice doesn't make perfect, so you can't prepare for every scenario while you're practicing, but now that we've gone live, any little hiccups we have, we're working right through those and moving right ahead. So outside of that,
you want to explain kind of who all we got in the operations center?
Yes, sir. So here in the operations center today, we'll have our logistics teams. If we have any vaccinations or concerns moving anything around the state, dry ice, anything of that, our finance support. Our finance team is critical if we have any last minute purchases or things like that need to happen once we're up and running. Our planning team, which is obviously always in every situation, walking through everything we've got. Our DOT relationships are vital on a mission like this. If we do have any type of backup, they can help with signage, redirection of traffic flow, so that's a huge partnership. Obviously, our public safety is major on a site to the scale we're doing those, making sure that not only are you safe while you're on site, but you're safe getting in and out of the sites, making sure that we don't have any problems there. We've got our public health team with us, so obviously on a mass vaccination site, we have to have our public health with us, making sure that we're meeting all our protocols and things like that, keeping everyone safe and moving through that. Anything else that you might not see here is because it was not vital to the mission that we have going on today. So if you don't see a few things, agriculture, for instance, some of those are mass care and sheltering. Some of those, if you don't see anybody there, that's why they're not here today. But that's who we have in the room. Of course, we have our desk here that has some of our information available. You've got on the screen here our resource request, as you see. That's documenting anything that's going on at any of our sites. Currently, right now, it's blank, which is a good thing. It means we don't have any problems going out there. We don't have anything that we need popped up. So if anything pops up there, then we'll obviously move in and take care of it from there.
I guess I got to sign up too.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Any questions? Anybody?
Yeah, Governor, this is on topic, but a little bit beyond. There are efforts now in the Georgia legislature to limit your emergency powers under a public health emergency declaration, and to require lawmakers to come back and approve an extension. What do you think of those efforts?
Well, I've tried to talk to some of the legislators about that. I have some serious concerns about that. I think, the ability to move very quickly, the logistics of calling the legislature back in every 30 days to me during the global pandemic does not sound like a very good idea. I also have concerns that if you have a governor that doesn't have those powers, then you can have local jurisdictions overriding those. We saw that early in the pandemic when some mayors wanted to shut some things down that were overreaching from what the executive order actually said. So that particular piece of legislation in its current form, I would actually veto.
Anyone else?
Governor, do you still plan to vaccinate 1,100 starting today, even with delay in doses from last week?
Well, I'll let Director Stallings speak more to our numbers, but we've seen heavy demand in 3 of the 4 sites that we have, lagging a little bit in Albany, which is one reason I went down there yesterday. We're working with a lot of the local elected officials and other partners in, law enforcement, chambers of commerces and others to make sure we get the word out down there. But I know we got heavy demand in Macon, in Atlanta, and in Habersham. And do you want to speak a little more to that?
Short answer, ma'am, is yes. We have allocation to do 1,100 shots per site per day. So we have we're definitely ready to rock and roll this week.
Can you talk a little about the process of doubling that number over the next couple of weeks? I know you were talking about the second doses last week.
Yes, ma'am. So we built the sites originally to handle that number. So each site is essentially working at 50% capacity for the first 3 weeks. We have the ability to step up that manpower allocation as need be, but the goal is so once you complete your first vaccine today, when you pull into the recovery area, essentially where you'll be watched and made sure there are no allergic reactions, you'll be notified then to set your second appointment. So you have the ability to come right back to the same site, see the same faces, and experience the same vaccine there for your second dose. And we wanted to ensure that we had the appropriate number of doses, so we knew we had a certain allocation, so we just cut that in half to make sure that everybody there didn't have to struggle finding a second dose somewhere. So we definitely have the allocation to handle the shots in arms that we've said we'd be able to do.
What's the number of booked appointments? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I would just add to that, I think that's the good thing about the position that we're in, not only with the mass vaccination sites, but other sites that I visited that the county's doing. We were at the International Convention Center with Fulton County the other day. I visited last Monday Athens Clark County site, and there's many others across the state. They are all saying if we have more doses, we can expand. We could double what we're doing. So we just need that supply from the federal government. And when we can do that, we can not only expand our sites, but we can expand, all the other sites that we have operating all across the state.
What's the number of booked appointments in Albany?
You got the latest number on that?
Question again, sir?
What's the number of booked appointments in Albany?
The number of appointments scheduled for this week, right now we're right around the 200 mark. Yes, sir.
For Are you guys keeping these sites open throughout the pandemic, or is this something just happening temporarily right now?
Well, that's the good thing, and that's the reason we're treating this like a normal incident, whether it be a hurricane, tornado, or what have you. We got all the people in the room. We're monitoring this, as you can see behind us, you know, just every hour, if you will, if not more than that. We'll continue to talk to public health, but believe you me, we remain very flexible. If we're not seeing demand somewhere, we'll shift those doses somewhere where there is demand. Obviously, at some point, we're going to expand the criteria, and we'll have even more demand than we have right now. So I'm not too worried about that, but we can pick up and move. We can just open another site. We could reduce, you know, one site. If we're not getting the volume there, we can lower that to do, you know, 500 a day or 200 a day and take those doses and shift them to another existing site. We can shift them to the public health sites, or we can open another site. I mean, we're definitely going to open other sites around the state when we get more supply. That is our goal.
Got time for two more folks if you go.
And Governor, can you talk a little bit more about the strategic placement of these particular sites that you're running as a state?
Well, public health and really working with our team was kind of looking at the data. I mean, obviously, you know, the site at Fulton County at the International Convention Center, Chairman Pitts, you know, they specifically went there to address the low numbers in certain minority communities, especially in African American in that part of the state. We've also seen, as I talked about the other day, very low numbers, especially amongst African Americans in Clayton County, which is why we wanted to partner with Delta at the Delta Museum for that site to address that concern. Obviously, Southwest Georgia, large minority population there as well. And then Habersham County, really you got the Latino Hispanic demographic in that northeast Georgia part of the state. But we're also putting that site up there because you have, you know, great health care providers, great public health networks in places like Athens and Gainesville, but we'll help augment some of the North Georgia area. So we'll continue to look at the data as to where we need to go and what needs to be the priority.
Last question.
And are these booked, or are these 4 sites fully booked right now? I heard you say not.
Red, do you want to talk about the volume you got?
The volume for our other 3 sites are all but within maybe 100 for all 3 sites booked completely. So we're very excited. Habersham's completely booked for the week. The Fulton site is booked completely for the week. And the Macon site, I think, is within maybe 100 for being booked. So there may be 5,300 and some change for the week. We were looking for roughly 5,500 for the week there. So, and they're still able to make appointments right now. You can go to My Vaccine Georgia. If you're not there, make sure you've checked your email. A couple folks have said, and I put this out there, that their response email went to a spam folder. We're trying to get that avoided, but make sure you're going there and checking that. So if you're not finding your response, check that. So make sure you didn't miss your appointment opportunities. So.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.